call this meeting to order of the Sycamore Township Board of Trustees. It is Tuesday, October 19th, 2021 at 7 p.m. We've called the meeting to order. I understand we have an invocation from Chief Penny this evening, so I'll ask everyone who's able to please stand, and then we'll continue into the Pledge of Allegiance afterward.
This invocation is by All Saints Church. Heavenly Father, we praise you and give you thanks for the many blessings you have given us and the Sycamore Township citizens. As we begin this meeting, we ask that you send us your Holy Spirit and enlighten and guide us with discussed business at hand. Help us follow the example of our Lord Jesus Christ as we make decisions. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. You may be seated. Mr. Porter, would you please call the roll?
Mr. LaBarbera?
Here.
Mr. James?
Here.
Mr. Weedman?
Present. All right. First, we have minutes from our October 5th, 2021 trustees meeting on the agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion as to these? Hearing none, Mr. Porter, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. LaBarbera?
Aye.
Mr. James?
Aye.
Mr. Weedman?
Aye.
Next, we have public comments. Do we have anyone signed up to speak to us this evening?
Yes, sir. We have Ms. Tracy Hughes.
All right.
Hi, Tracy Hughes, 4705 Dunedin Avenue. I just want to come and speak about capital investments. 22 months ago, after the vote here by the trustees for the project to go forward, capital investments had a meeting of our neighborhood. At that time, they announced there would be a neighborhood fund. It was going to be around $120,000. David Bastos asked me to work on this project. We could do whatever we want with the funds. They gave us the name of an attorney to work with, so we started the process 22 months ago. So since that time, I have worked with others in the neighborhood and the attorney to document a fair and equitable way to use the funds. We've set up an escrow agent to handle the funds. Capital promised they weren't going to be involved. They would fund it. It was the neighborhood fund. So it's been going on for 22 months. It's been painstaking, but we've finally come to an agreement. It's prepared. Some of the beneficiaries of the fund have signed. Some have told me, I'm not signing until I see capital investments sign. We do have trust issues with them. I had one person tell me signing a document with capital investments is signing a deal with the devil, so go away. So literally, we're all over the board here, but we did come to an agreement. Capital investments attorney has been advised all along. They have had the document for 2 weeks. There's been nothing. Have not heard anything. Last week, I told our attorney, I said, please tell them I'm going to come talk to the trustees on Tuesday because this is in action. I was promised, Greg Lucero was on vacation. Apparently, he's the only one who can sign the document. He was back yesterday. I was promised it today to no document. So, neighbors have spent money. I have neighbors who want to spend money. These apartments are going to be open to the public in 5 months. People are not going to be able to do what they need to do to mitigate the intrusiveness of apartment balconies on their in their backyards. So I'm here to let you know that this is happening. I know this is a private document with the neighborhood, but my point is there are campaigns going on, and developers give money to campaigns. And we know in the past, Capital has given money to Mr. Weedman. So I am asking, this is for the neighborhood. This is for the residents. I think some pressure should be put on them to get this done and to fund this. So, you know, I don't know how much has been donated to the current election campaign, but it will be looked at because we are hanging out there. I've spent almost 2 years of my life trying to get something together for the benefit of my neighbors. I am not benefiting from this at all. It's the adjacent property owners. This is something for our residents, and I would really like some pressure, something to be done. They represented they would do this, and now we're waiting. So, thank you.
Thanks for bringing that to our attention, Tracy, and thanks for all the work you and your neighbors have done. I know it's been difficult living with and dealing with the project next door, for better or for worse. The developer did, in good faith, make this offer to fund this account, of course, so
It is, they did put it on the news. I mean, it's public, but
Yeah.
it was like a news story
Yeah.
that they promised it. So there is pressure to be had. I know things have changed in the last
Mhm.
2 years with COVID and everything, but no time in the 22 months that it's going to change. And we're just waiting.
well, hopefully, perhaps the township can do something about that to push that along, or someone up here.
So just wanted to make you aware.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, how much money was that?
It's 120, but then it's going to be less. We take our attorney's fees and the escrow fees out of there. But
Mhm.
around that.
All right, thank you. Has anyone else signed up to speak?
No, sir.
Was there anyone else out there planning to do that? If not, we will move on then. Thank you. All right, next we have the Sheriff's Patrol report. Lieutenant Tar, what do we got?
Sorry. The only thing I have this week, like the rest of the Cincinnati area, we're seeing an uptick in thefts from vehicles and vehicles stolen, and the vast majority of these involve unlocked cars for people who aren't sure if their car was locked, but there's no sign of forced entry. So please, please, please lock those cars and make sure that everything's out of them and in plain sight.
Very good. In our last meeting, I know you were not able to be here then, one of our residents spoke and had some questions about high-speed chases and said she had communicated with you about that. Have you been able to be in touch with her?
We're speaking on Thursday. We've been
Oh,
emailing
great.
back
Okay.
and forth, so we
Thanks
have
for
an
following
appointment
up on that.
Thursday to
Okay.
talk.
Any questions for Lieutenant Tar from anybody? All right, thank you. We will move on then to EMS and Fire Report. Chief, you've had a busy day. What's going on now?
Yeah, before I do the station updates, I'll say we have been busy. 4 major fires in the last week and a half. So you guys are getting plenty of practice at putting fires out. On the stations, we are 99.9% have an alarm system installed in the south station down here. They've been working on it for the past week, and they've got it all wired. They're waiting for an IVI inspection that's supposed to be happening this week, and then once that happens, they can attach all the pull stations and smoke detectors and put in the rest of the system. We should be up and running with a monitored fire alarm for that building. So that they moved pretty quick on that, all considering the way contractors are nowadays. In the North Station, they've gotten a new countertops in, and I believe the plumbing people have been there, and they're starting to do some work on the sink and eliminate the grease trap under the sink and reroute some plumbing up there. So that's happening, and I believe the floors are scheduled to be redone here within the next week and a half, 2 weeks. So it's moving along. For Tim Feichner, my lieutenant, he's been kind of the master of heading all this stuff out, and he's been doing a great job at keeping up with these guys, contacting them every chance, and holding their feet to the fire. So they've been coming out. They've been doing things. So things are moving along pretty well.
Chief, is that the floor upstairs right outside the bunk room when
It's up north. It's
up
the North Station.
We need this fixed over here too.
Well, the floor's fine. Well, no,
Is it-
not
you know what I'm
that.
talking about?
Yeah, I know.
When you get out there,
The sagging.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a little more involved.
okay.
Yeah, this is basically resurfacing the floors at the North Station.
Okay, but that needs to be addressed over here eventually,
Yeah,
hopefully sooner than later.
yeah. So my biggest concern right now, until we figure out with contractors how we can do something with that building next door, is just the notification of a fire for the firemen if they're sleeping at night. So the fire alarm system will definitely do that. So That's the biggest goal right now. That's all I got.
And Chief, social media has been lit up with a lot of comments about us being understaffed or we need more men. Can we set up some meeting to address
Sure.
all of this and how
We can
many,
get- we can get the
we get a
union and-
recommendation and
We can invite the union if you want, the president of the union, and we can sit down and talk, however you want to do it.
I would suggest next month after the election period and sit down and see what you need.
The problem, just real quick in a nutshell, where these guys are coming from, the problem that we ran into, that we've been running into for years, is we started out 10 years ago with 70 part-timers, and we had a small nucleus of full-timers. And over the years, we kept adding full-timers, but we kept losing part-timers. Just like in 2018, when we hired the last 6, within 6 months of hiring those 6, we lost 16 part-timers. So all the hiring that we've been doing full-timer has never gotten our staffing higher. It's just been replacing part-timers that left. So we're really never getting higher. We're just keeping it. If we hadn't hired any full-timers, we've been running 5 people, period, because we wouldn't have enough guys to with part-timers leaving. So it's unfortunate that the part-time program crashed, and we were relying on it so heavily for staffing, but that's how it is. That's what's happening. So
I think it's crashed everywhere as well.
yeah, it's everywhere. It's happening everywhere. So now we only have 2 part-timers left. So if we hire additional full-timers now, they're here to stay. We don't have to worry about part-timers leaving and putting us in a negative again. So yeah, we do need to address that. I don't like having $1 million truck with $500,000 of equipment on it sitting in the firehouse, not hitting the road.
Chief, I was at a funeral recently where I spoke to both Indian Hill and Montgomery's fire chiefs, and they were saying something about the Great Oaks program had started up, had cut back, and now they've started up again. Were you aware of that in that situation? Okay, I just want.
Yeah.
Now, with these staffing issues, though, as Mr. LaBarbera said, I've seen some of this commentary, and I've been in touch with the union president also about it, but I know the union keeps pushing to get that ladder truck staff. But have we had any safety concerns in the recent fires as to that?
Oh,
We've
yeah.
been-
Yeah, because, I mean, like the fire today at Indian Creek, the ambulance was out on a medic run, so there was 3 guys on an engine that got there. They had to get a line in to start on that fire, but just 3 guys. The second truck coming in from Deer Park was delayed because they were resurfacing the parking lots in Indian Creek, so they had to go around the block. And then the condo fire we had last Sunday down Montgomery Road, we had three trucks that were dispatched that were unavailable because they were either on a run or understaffed. So we pulled up. They pulled up with a working fire on the second floor. They had neighbors saying there's a victim in the upstairs still, and we had 2 victims laying in the grass, and we had 5 guys. And it just spurts pretty quick. So you get to a point where you say, okay, we got to write off somebody upstairs because we can't walk through fire to get to them. So we had 2 guys trying to put out fire while 2 guys were tending to victims on the ground. And our guys got overexerted really quick, and that's why they ended up at the hospital.
Yeah, we don't want to be in that
No.
situation
So,
again.
it's just not.
I stopped by yesterday to look at that. And,
The
I
carousel
will-
fire is a different story.
Yeah.
That was just
Yeah.
a surround and let it go. Eat White Castle.
Exactly.
I will say, though, let's plan for next month, having a
That's fine.
meeting to talk
Yeah.
about this in more depth. But if there are immediate safety concerns we need to address, understand, you need to let us know, please. Okay?
There's safety concerns for our firemen. There's also safety concerns for our residents because
Right.
we only have 1 ambulance down here and it's out all the time. And when we have that second ambulance run, it's coming from the North Station. There's a very long delay getting to the patient. So, which if this second ambulance down here was staffed, which would be the same 2 people that's on a ladder
Right.
truck, we'd be there in 3 minutes instead of 15. So yeah, there's definitely some things to talk about.
Yeah. All right, thank you. Any other questions for the chief?
But I understand the situation too. I understand why we're not jumping into this, and I understand even going back to 2012 with the crash of that. I mean, that was something that when Governor Kasich took millions of dollars from the township, the trustees at that time had to figure out how to operate with essential services and not have the budget crash within the township. So they had to do what they had to do. So we understand that, but we just need to, and it's tough when we keep adding more full-timers, but we keep losing part-timers, so we really don't get anywhere, you know? So,
All right. Well, thank you very much.
okay.
We have one other item, Mr. Chair, for the fire department. The fire exhaust system for 93.
Yes.
The bids did come in. We had one bid, and it's the Magna Grip Group in the amount of $67,002. And we have a resolution here to ask the board to let us move forward with that. It reads, a resolution approving and authorizing a contract for the Sycamore Township Fire Department Station Number 93 Vehicle Exhaust Removal System and dispensing with a second
Motion.
reading.
If you let it finish. Second.
All right. We have a motion and a second. I have a question, I guess. So we got one bid on this. Is that, was that expected, or were we expecting more? And is this in bounds as to what we were expecting the cost
Right,
to be?
it was under what we projected.
Okay. All right.
And they met all the specifications, and we had a couple other companies that requested the specs, but we never got a bid from them, so
Okay.
I guess they couldn't meet the specs, I don't know.
Yeah. Everybody's got staffing problems now, too. Maybe they didn't have somebody to
That could
put
be,
it in. All right. Mr. Porter, would you call the roll?
Mr. LaBarber,
Aye.
Mr. James,
Aye.
Mr. Weedman.
Aye.
All right. Anything else for fire or EMS?
Mm-mm.
All right. Lieutenant Tar, back to you for one thing. I forgot to ask earlier. We had talked last time also about the neighborhood watch meetings resuming up north. Do we have a date for that yet?
It'll be early part of November. Deputy Bitterman is going to be doing those like he has in the past, and he's on vacation. So
Okay.
he had already reached out to them prior to let them know that we were going to start that up, but the firm date he
Great.
will get next week when he's back.
Okay, thank you. All right. Moving on then. Roads, maintenance, and recreation. Mr. Kellums.
So parks are getting ready to winterize parks, close them down. We have a couple more rentals, and that'll be it for the year. I only have two other things. We talked last time about the MSD odor control. You'd asked me to get in touch with MSD if they would come out and do a presentation, talk. So they want to know, well, what are the questions? Some of the questions were, why do you need it in our right of way? Why can't you put it in the county right of way or put it in somebody's yard and get an easement? So they'll work on it. His answer basically was because it's easier.
Of course.
But,
At least he's honest.
yeah, he's honest. So they're getting together in-house and deciding who's going to come out, and I have not heard back from them since. So we will be looking to have them at a meeting here in the near future, I hope. So the only other thing I have is a resolution we're looking to put another grant application in for OPWC money to do the Gideon Lane culvert replacement. There's a large culvert that goes under Gideon Lane that's completely rusted out. When it was built, it was put in steel, which is not a good idea under a road because they do not last. So the resolution reads, a resolution authorizing Tracy Kellums, Assistant Township Administrator, Maintenance Superintendent, to prepare and submit an application to participate in the Ohio Public Works Commission State Capital Improvement and/or Local Transportation Improvement Program and to execute contracts as required.
Motion.
Second.
Any discussion as to this? I do have one comment, and this is not aimed at you, Tracy, understand. It's just your name happens to be here. As a general comment, I don't think our resolution should name a specific person by name when we're giving authority to do certain things if that person has a title. It should authorize the assistant administrator to do it, not Tracy Kellums, assistant administrator, and so forth, just as a general practice. I'm fine with it here, but I would suggest in the future we do that, just so we keep it as the office as opposed to the individual person. So, any other discussion? Mr. Porter, would you call the roll, please?
Mrs. LaBarber,
Aye.
Mr. James,
Aye.
Mr. Weedman.
Aye.
And don't get nervous, I wasn't thinking about you and your name being there for
Alrighty,
that
huh?
reason. But, no.
That didn't take long.
No. All right, anything else from you, Tracy?
No, that's all I have, unless you have any questions.
I always have questions on
No, you
it. A few things. So if we're winterizing the parks. I know we've talked about this in the past too, but will any bathroom facilities be left open and functioning in them when they are winterized?
Only the one back here.
All right,
In our building.
on the maintenance building.
It's the only one that's heated.
All right. I will urge again, if there is some way to find the funding to do that, even if it's putting a portalet out, if nothing else, in some of the parks.
Well, we have portalets in all of them.
Oh, okay, so they are still
For the
functioning.
winter, we have portalets.
Right, oh, okay.
In
So there
in
are,
every park.
so there are bathroom facilities, just not the regular ones?
Yes.
All right, that's what I meant. People,
Yes.
people can stop and pee if they need to.
Yes.
Okay, that's
Yes, they
important.
can.
All right. Kugler Mill Road, is it falling further behind? The sidewalks seem to be moving very nicely.
It's not falling further behind. It's about where it was. We are a little behind, but that was from some of the weather that we had. They have basically completed all the flat work on the construction, on the concrete. They are starting to do dirt work. There's a lot of dirt work to do from one end to the other. And beginning in the beginning of November, they should be in there with the reclamation machine.
Okay, and at that point, it will be undrivable for a little while?
It will be.
All right, and Mr. Beeson, who's here, can be parking over in the building across the field. Okay. All right.
And our new developer, residential developer on Kugler Mill, was able to get all their taps in ahead of
Excellent.
pavement.
Perfect.
Yep.
Very good. All right,
MSD taps, water, and gas.
very good.
It's unbelievable.
It is. They worked hard at it because it was short order.
Yeah, well, thanks to you and thanks to Dan Durham for keeping all that moving along. I see Dan when I drive by there each day right now, while I can still get through there, I think, so.
You drive around that road closed sign?
I do, yeah,
Oh.
yeah. I follow my neighbors through there, so, yeah.
And the sidewalks are nice. Driving over tonight, a lot of people walking.
I've already seen people use it.
Walking it. It's
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
We'll get you an amber light, that way, feel less guilty about going through that sign.
I have an inspection duty on behalf.
That's right.
of
That's what I'm saying.
Residents.
Make it official.
Yeah, but, okay, so anything else for Tracy from anyone?
Yeah, I've had a couple of residents ask me about, Amberley Village has temporary speed bumps, right? And want to know if we could possibly get those on some streets. So streets where, can you just enlighten me about temporary speed bumps?
Well, speed bumps in general, we usually don't put.
Yeah, I know you
We
don't.
follow the county.
Right.
The county is the one that says, they've done all kinds of studies. Speed bumps actually increase speed in between the bumps. They're very loud, and they're not good on safety services vehicle and also motorcycles. But temporary ones are a little rough because you have to drill the pavement, attach them, then you have to take them up, then you've got a problem with water getting down in your pavement and possibly causing freeze and thaw issues. So, those are reasons that we would not want to do it. It's your decision, whatever you gentlemen would like, we can do, but my suggestion would be we do not put temporary speed bumps in.
And those that do in Amberley, where they just keep them during the summer?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I didn't even know they had them.
Yeah, I was surprised. Yeah. Thank you.
That actually reminds me of a comment a resident asked me about the other day as to the Kugler Mill Road project, and I understand it's a county road, but someone suggested considering putting a stop sign at the bridge, basically on the Charter Oak side, on this side of it, to break up the rapid traffic movement through there, because people whip across the bridge sometimes heading through there. I don't know, have we ever considered something like that, and would that be a good or bad thing in your view?
It's illegal to use a stop sign as speed control. So you can't just put it in the middle of a block unless you're talking about putting it at Charter Oak.
Put it at Charter Oak at the intersection as a three-way stop.
We would have to go with the county, and they would obviously have to do a study to see if it warrants. We can't do it just because of speed. It would have to be wrecks, some reason that they would feel that that was warranted.
I
But
mean,
we can have them look at it.
something to think about anyway. Yeah, I'm anticipating we're going to have a crosswalk at some point, on the other hand, on the other side of the bridge, once the development is finished there, and there's the walking path that's planned alongside the highway. If the sidewalk's going to be on the other side of that, somewhere in there, somebody's going to have to fit in a crosswalk, and I don't remember if we built that into the zoning approval for the developer to pay for, or if we may be looking at that down the line, but that might be in conjunction with it.
Yeah, it's not in our project, but that's something else that the county will have to approve. And that's going to be all about sight distance with people coming around that curve there. So
Yeah.
the county is very particular about where they put mid-block crosswalks. So something else they'll want to do a study on, but we'll have to talk to Jeff Newby, the traffic engineer, about that.
One more thing then. With, the other day, we were talking about, Skylar, we were talking about that 40 mile per hour that the gentleman was concerned about.
Yes, we were looking at 40 mile an hour speed limit signs southbound on Montgomery Road.
Yes, so you looked into that.
Somewhere
Yeah.
around Kennedy.
Yes.
Somewhere around Kennedy, because as we looked at it, there was no 40 mile per hour sign until you got down to the condos past Glen Oak. So that's up to ODOT, but I have contacted them and waiting on an answer.
Thank you.
And you and I were also in contact about a resident asking about the Miami intersection with Montgomery Road too. You said you were going to reach out to ODOT about that, I think, or brainstorm that. Have you gotten anywhere with that?
No, that'll take a lot of brainstorming, because once you go down Miami to Montgomery, now what do you do with it?
Yeah.
You know, they're talking about, I sent that to them, that, because they wanted they wanted a traffic light there, didn't they?
Yeah, I don't know if that's a viable solution there, but maybe some signage or flashing lights more than what's there now, or something.
I mean, they have changed that several times. You know, both those lanes used to go through, then they made one just a left-hand turn. I mean, there's a lot of traffic there, and they pick up some speed coming down that hill,
Yeah.
so something else that I have passed on to ODOT.
Okay, well, thanks for doing that. All right. I think we'll leave you alone now, unless Tom.
Okay.
All right. Moving on to planning and zoning then. Mr. Miller.
Okay. I have 4 violation resolutions to discuss with you tonight, but I think this will be fairly quick. Our first issue is tall weeds and grass at 8285 Fields Erdel Road. I believe, so they have a driveway on Fields Erdel, but I think it's actually addressed 12185 Snyder Road. So we are sending notices out to both addresses. Very briefly, as you can see from this picture, very tall grass, weeds around the house. The owner did reach out to us initially, but has not cut anything yet, and it's been in violation for about a month now, just shy of a month.
That's a repeat offender as well.
I believe so, yes. So with that, unless there's any questions, I can read this resolution. Resolution providing for and authorizing removal of vegetation, garbage, refuse, and other debris, and declaring a nuisance for the property located at 8285 Fields Erdel Road, Sycamore Township, Ohio, 45249, also known as 12185 Snyder Road, Sycamore Township, Ohio, 45249.
Motion?
Second,
Any discussion? Mr. Porter?
Mr. LaBarber?
aye.
Mr. James?
Aye.
Mr. Weedman?
Aye.
Okay. These next 3 resolutions, I'm going to present them together. This is all 3 properties are owned by the same property owner, who is a repeat offender. All 3 of these properties have been in violation in the past for junk, trash, and other debris. We've discussed these 3 properties previously and had concerns with junk vehicles, but we decided to pursue the initial cleanup on these so that we could gather the proper evidence and make a better determination on the status of these junk vehicles. There is a spreadsheet on your desk that actually outlines our findings for all 15 of these vehicles. The first property, 8308 St. Clair Avenue, has two junk vehicles, junk trucks. And this property owner is unresponsive to any cleanup notifications, but has been very adversarial to us. These are the first two junk vehicles. For brevity, I've taken out a lot of the pictures.
Those
for
are
these
different
resolutions.
vehicles pictured here then?
These are actually two. These are two junk trucks. You can see one of them's wrecked. The other has flat tires, no plates. Neither are in obvious working condition. So with that, I have a resolution to read. A resolution providing for the removal of junk vehicles in Sycamore Township, Hamilton County, and the proper disposal, storage, or impoundment of motor vehicles by implementing the procedures set forth in Sycamore Township Resolution Number 2012-14 and Sections 505.173, 505.185, and 505.871 of the Ohio Revised Code.
Motion?
Second?
Just for the record, you said 505.185. Did you mean 85 as noted here?
505.85 and 505.871.
Thank you.
Did I? Thank you.
Yeah, all right. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Mr. Porter?
Mrs. LaBarbera?
Aye.
Mr. James?
Aye.
Mr. Weedman?
Aye.
Do the $2 on it.
Section signs. Yep. So we broke these resolutions up by address just for enforcement purposes. Okay. Next address, 3684, which is actually right next door to the other property, 3700 East Galbraith. I'll go ahead and, for our purposes, same issue. This is an aerial photo from Cages from 2020. You can actually go all the way back through Cages looking at aerial photos. You can see the same vehicles have been here since before 2011. Some of them haven't even moved. Some of them are sitting on wood stumps. It's quite the mess. Okay. So with that,
And just for the record, this is the one we've discussed many times in the last.
we've discussed this many times. All three of these properties are repeat properties. We're just now ready to pursue the junk vehicles. So with that, a resolution providing for the removal of junk vehicles in Sycamore Township, Hamilton County, and the proper disposal, storage, or impoundment of motor vehicles by implementing the procedure set forth in Sycamore Township Resolution Number 2012-14 and Sections 505.173, 505.85, and 505.871 of the Ohio Revised Code.
Motion?
Second?
Any discussion? Mr. Porter?
Mr. LaBarbera?
Aye.
Mr. James?
Aye.
Mr. Weedman?
Aye.
All right, and there were two vehicles on that site. And our third property is at 3700 East Galbraith Road, which has 11 junk vehicles on it in total. Oops, let's see here. 11. And let's see if my scrolling will catch up. Now we're looking at the property on the right, 3700 East Galbraith Road, where you can see the illegal storage lot in the back. Okay. Unless there's any questions, I'll go ahead and read this one. A resolution providing for the removal of junk vehicles in Sycamore Township, Hamilton County, and the proper disposal, storage, or impoundment of motor vehicles by implementing the procedure set forth in Sycamore Township Resolution Number 2012-14 and Sections 505.173, 505.85, and 505.871 of the Ohio Revised Code.
Motion?
Second?
Any discussion? Mr. Porter?
Mr. LaBarbera?
Aye.
Mr. James?
Aye.
Mr. Weedman?
Aye.
All right. Other than that, very briefly, due to quorum issues, the zoning commission is meeting this week on Thursday, the 21st. This is a replacement, a date change for the our typical meeting that I believe was originally scheduled for the 12th. Our only new business is a major adjustment to the Villas of Kenwood, which is the new development on Kugler Mill Road. They're modifying the side yard setbacks to allow for a larger footprint, a wider footprint of new home construction. We will also be discussing the land use plan and zoning text amendments.
As to Villas of Kenwood, and you and I discussed this recently, I think, and maybe in our last meeting, but the change they want to make to the side yards, that's not all the lots, correct? It's the ones closer to the highway, or is that
It's
changed?
lots 6 through 11, which are the lots. Lot 11 is closest to the highway, so that goes toward the middle of the development.
And their stated goal is to be able to build larger, more valuable residences there?
You know, so what we're looking at is the development is on its third home builder. The site wasn't originally designed to accommodate the catalog of housing product that this home builder had. They requested this modification to again provide more options on site.
Very good.
So I think ideally they want a wider ranch home.
All right, any questions for Mr. Miller about anything? Okay, all right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Timing.
Lost my agenda for a moment here. All right. Okay. Moving on to the law director report. Mr. Desai, how are you and what have you got?
I'm good, Mr. Chair. Thank you. I've got nothing to report this evening.
All right. Thank you very much. You get off easy, see? All right, administrator report. Mr. Warwick.
Yeah, first on the agenda is the property insurance. This time of year for us to renew our insurance. We started working on this back in July. We met with 3 different companies to try to secure 3 different bids. This has been a struggle. We formed a committee, myself, Tracy, Chief Penny, Debbie Campbell, Beth Gunderson, Skylar, I think that's it. And to meet initially with the brokers who are providing these insurance companies, and then to review the quotes. So far, we've gotten 2 quotes in. The first one from Tokyo Marine through Pillar Brokerage, who is our current provider. And Tokyo Marine, well, from the outset, for all 3 of them, there were some issues. The first issue was the covering of the police cars. That seems to have become a rub with this kind of insurance. Tokyo Marine mentioned that to me last year when we re-upped and then let it go through, but they mentioned it to me a few times throughout the year that we might have to do something different. So the Tokyo Marine quote does not include the police cars. And the other thing that we were insisting upon with the 3 providers is cyber coverage. The Tokyo Marine will not provide cyber coverage. So that pretty much leaves them out. The quote without cyber coverage was $65,000. He was able to quote cyber coverage outside of the Tokyo Marine, which would take them up to about $77,000. But the major issue there is the police cars are not covered. The other quote we have in hand at this point is Otarma, which is the pool type of insurance that 1,055 of 1,308 townships are already members of. They have no problem with the police cars. They have a $10 million cyber coverage. Their quote came in at $102,000, which is obviously much higher than what we were paying. That particular kind of program offers some things that standard insurance doesn't. One of them is a dividend that's paid back at the end of the year if the pool performs okay. Their projection, if it's a normal year in 2022 and we were a member, that we could probably count on at least $5,500 in the form of a dividend. We're fully approved to go in that program. The third company we met with is the USI is the broker, and Zurich is the insurance company. Zurich first had a problem with the police cars, and we got past that, and they're okay with that now. The cyber insurance comes with every one of their plans. And by the way, this Zurich policy is tailor-made for local governments, but it's standard insurance. The other problem, though, that came up with all three of them actually, but where Zurich is stuck right now, is a claim to defend a lawsuit, and they've asked a lot of questions about that. I believe we may be past that. They still say we are going to quote you, but I do not have it in hand tonight. They have said to me that, because they also have written OTARMA in the past, so they kind of know where that stands, they're saying to me that they think they would be maybe $20,000 less. But once again, I haven't seen a number. I told them that we are running out of time. November 1st is our renewal date. And they said that they still wanted to proceed. They would proceed as quickly as they could, but we don't have it in hand tonight. So I think we do want to see that price, because if that's standard insurance and it includes all that, and it's under the OTARMA, that's probably what the committee would want to suggest to the board, because I think that would be a good place for the township right now, albeit I think over time, just the way the insurance market is going for small local governments, that I think will end up in the pool at some point. But anyway, two suggested ways we could do this. We could call a special meeting for next week to handle that, or I do have a resolution prepared. It's not in your packet, we just did it. And this basically would allow the township administrator to approve a contract with either Zurich or OTARMA for the provision of property and casualty insurance for a premium in the amount not to exceed $102,000, which is the OTARMA is just below the 102. And so if the Zurich came in under that price and the committee was happy with it, we could make the decision and do it. So we can either do it with this instrument, or we can call a special meeting.
Do you have a resolution there you can read?
Yes.
I'm happy to make a motion.
Okay. A resolution authorizing the township administrator to approve a contract for property and casualty insurance and dispensing with a second reading.
Motion.
Could I, Mr. Weeben, just suggest that maybe it's a short resolution since it's just being
Let's read the whole
presented?
thing.
Read it in its entirety, is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
Whereas the Board of Township Trustees wishes to continue to maintain property and casualty insurance for the protection of the township assets, now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Township Trustees of Sycamore Township, State of Ohio, the board hereby authorizes the township administrator to approve a contract with either Zurich Insurance or OTARMA for the provision of property and casualty insurance for a premium in the amount not to exceed $102,000. The Board of Township Trustees of Sycamore Township, by at least 2/3 vote of all its members, dispenses with any requirement that this ordinance be read on 2 separate days and authorizes its passage upon 1 reading. The resolution shall take effect on the earliest date allowed by law.
Okay, I'll still keep my motion.
I'll make a second on that.
All right. A few questions, I guess, just to confirm for the record. The Zurich coverage would include cyber and police cars as well.
Yes.
Correct. All right. That resolution, if I heard it as read, gives you discretion to go with either, does not require to go with the lowest bidder on the other hand, although there may be a reason not to go with the lowest bidder depending on the coverages and the details of them in the end, I suppose. With the prices I think we're looking at here, I don't really have a concern about that. I think you'd make the right choice as to that. But Mr. Desai, do you have any concerns about that from a purchasing standpoint, if we're not putting this out for bid and then going with the lowest bid, for example? Is there any requirement as to that?
No, because you're not going to get, this is not a construction project, right, where you're going to have specs that everybody's bidding on the same product. I mean, all the policies are going to be somewhat different. And I did get a chance to talk to Mr. Warwick about this. My understanding is that, I mean, they're both good policies. The township would be fine with either one of them. But one advantage to the Zurich policy is that it's tailor-made to small governments such as ourselves and provides some bells and whistles that the other policy may not have. So what Mr. Warwick is really asking here is, he understands cost is always going to be a consideration. And with the pool policy, there is an expectation that even though it's being quoted at 102, we're going to get approximately a $5,000, I'm going to call it a rebate. I think they call it a dividend. So that that brings it down to 97. So they're both within about $15,000 of each other. And the resolution is giving him the authority to look at what the final numbers are and then look at what's being offered through the policies and make that decision. But since, you know, to your specific question, since they're not going to be exactly the same, it's not like we have to take the lowest policy, the lowest price policy that we get.
So I understood him to say that we may get a $5,500 if things are normal. If they're not normal, we may not get it.
Correct.
And what's on the other end? If the pool goes over, are we obligated on the other end to cover the overage?
No, and the pool is very, very healthy.
Okay.
Have we gone with Otarma before for insurance?
No.
Okay.
What are we paying now?
What we paid this year was $61,000.
61,000 over 102,000.
Yeah.
Wow.
With the current environment here at the township, with the lawsuit that was pending from our fiscal officer and all the shenanigans going on with another trustee, Mr. Whedon, with legal fees and IT fees, has this affected this at all? Would this be?
Well, they did have a concern about one lawsuit, but it's all built into the prices.
Thank you.
All right, any further discussion? Anyone?
And if I'm not going to make the decision unilaterally, the whole committee will look at the Zurich thing. Yeah. And if we can't agree, then I will call a special meeting.
It's a nice jump. It's a nice jump in cost.
Yeah. Okay.
But ultimately, the way the resolution reads is the administrator has the final authority.
Yeah. Okay. All right, if there's no further discussion, Mr. Porter, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. LaBarber?
Aye.
Mr. James?
Aye.
Mr. Weedman?
Aye.
All right.
Okay, a week or so ago, we sent you the September financial package. So we're 9 months through the year, which is 75% of the year, and the quick check on how we're doing revenue-wise across the board. We are above on the revenue, as you would expect in most of the levied departments. So no concerns there. We will end the year over budget on revenue. On the expense side, once again, the trend is good. The spending by the major departments is all under 75%. Overall, we're at 71.3% spent of budget so far. The only department that we have to watch carefully is the fire department, because they are over the 75% mark at this time in the year. They're at 78.9%, and we'll just have to watch that closely. We may have to appropriate some more funds for the fire department, but everything else looks in good order.
And just to clarify, by over budget on revenue, you mean we got more in than we expected, correct?
Yes.
Over budget is a loaded term, you know? so.
Well, on revenue, that's good if you're over.
Yes, okay.
Any questions about the September package?
No, I reviewed it and sent you back my signature page for that, so.
Okay, I have 4 large POs. I'm going to recap them here all together. The first one is PO 684-2021. It's for Tri-State Preventative Health. This is for our firefighter physicals, and the amount of that PO is $15,861. The next is PO 690-2021 for Barrett Paving. This is the final on the Sycamore Road project, and it's in the amount of $46,042. Next is 692-2021 for One Touch Point. This is for the fall and winter 2021 newsletters in the amount of $6,000. And finally, 693-2021 for Ford Development. This is for the beginning of the waterworks on Larchview project, and it's for $198,976.59. All of these funds are available, and they have been appropriated.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to approve and a second for POs 684, 690, 692, and 693, all dash 2021. Any discussion? Mr. Porter, would you call the roll as to this package of purchase orders, please?
Mr. LaBarbera?
Aye.
Mr. James?
Aye.
Mr. Weedman?
Aye.
That is all I have.
All right.
One thing, Mr. Chairman, with that PO being the final on the Sycamore Road project, we came in $500,000 under budget.
Very good. Thank you. All right, moving on to fiscal officer report. Mr. Porter, how are you and what have you got?
We've got receipts of $37,021.01, disbursements of $728,702.52. A complete listing of the receipts and disbursements is available in the packet for your review.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? If not, Mr. Porter, please call the roll.
Mr. LaBarbera?
Aye.
Mr. James?
Aye.
Mr. Weedman?
Aye.
All right, thank you very much. And next we have trustee comments then. Mr. Weedman,
I don't have any at this time.
Mr. LaBarbera.
I have just one. I want to wish our chairman of our board, Mr. James, his wife Jill, celebrating their birthday today, and he's here spending time with us this evening instead of having a nice dinner with his family. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. A few things from me. I've mentioned this before. The Board of Elections needs workers for the election. It's not too late to sign up for that. It's a paid position. Each party brings in people for that. They need people at polling places to man the voting rolls, basically. They also need people at the Board of Elections that evening to help with the gathering and counting processes. So if there's anyone out there listening who needs something to do and wants to earn a little bit of money and doesn't have a felony record, please sign up. It would be a good thing and very helpful to the community. I mentioned before it's election silly season, of course, and we're almost done with it. I'm glad I'm not having to run for re-election this time at least. I've got 2 more years, but I wanted to share some thoughts about that again with everybody before we finish up. Skylar, we didn't make the 22-minute meeting. I'm sorry. I know you were hoping for that. We're already past
Next time.
But just a few thoughts here, and I'll be done here. So I shared something like this on Facebook. I thought I'd mention it here too, as a lesson for us as a board and elected officials and public servants about role models, good and bad. There's a guy many of us are familiar with who's famous in his realm, maybe infamous for his political prowess, but is charming, experienced, well-off, well-connected, long tenured in his role, and knowledgeable as he might appear to be with his smile and his great tipped, well-coiffed hair. He really shouldn't be a role model for politicians or for the public. I'm speaking, of course, of the fictional character Peter Baelish from Game of Thrones, usually known as Littlefinger. I've been reminded lately of his playbook of political tactics and tricks, misdirection, blame shifting, taking his own dealings and deeds and saying others did them instead, etc. And a few things I've seen happen recently in the lead up to the election. It's sad when township politics descends into cutthroat nonsense in mailers and otherwise, metaphorically speaking. I bring this up because people who don't deserve to be caught in the political crossfire, and actually some school levies even that didn't deserve to be caught in it, have been ending up there anyway. And in the political jockeying, the truth has been getting lost sometimes, and everyone else who's trying to serve the public and keep their heads down ends up looking bad in the process too. For example, it's really something that some people seem to think treating career township employees and innocent residents as disposable pawns in political fights is somehow okay. It's not. Those employees work hard for us all, and the us there being the residents in the township, not the political bosses, the elected officials, and so on. And those people don't deserve to get ensnared in political battles or to be portrayed publicly in a false or demeaning or even belittling light. Breaching their right to privacy and using them to beat up political opponents is an awful and pathetic tactic, and misleading residents to get them to join into amplifying those attacks is equally terrible, and unfortunately we've seen that in the township in recent history. Someone innocent might get hurt in all of this, and some already have, really, and that's not right. In short, the use and abuse of township personnel in political games needs to stop. It's harmful to our innocent career employees and to our residents and to our professional staff. It's an awful way for people to go about trying to win at any cost. I'm confident that our residents don't want their elected officials imitating Littlefinger, jockeying to be king while avoiding personal accountability. They know we're in Ohio, not Westeros, and this isn't Game of Thrones. They want sensible, honest, common sense leaders with integrity. That's who and what we should all aspire to be, elected or appointed or employed here in the township. So as election silly season continues, please keep others out of the crossfire for those of you who are running, and just tell the public the truth, because they're our bosses and they deserve honesty and to be treated with respect. So let's all try to be nice, please. That's
Motion
all
to
I
adjourn.
have. And hold on, we've got something else on the agenda, so don't rush out quite yet here. Announcement changes. We've got the zoning commission meeting change, which Mr. Miller mentioned, which is now Thursday, October 21st. There is discussion of our new land use plan there and zoning resolution text changes, which is very important to many in the community, so I encourage people to turn out for that. Otherwise, our November 2nd trustee meeting has been canceled because that's election day. Please get out and vote either early or then. And for other changes, see our calendar. It's all on there. Now you
And I
can
am making a motion to adjourn.
Second.
vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Have a good night, everybody. We are adjourned at 7:57 p.m. on Tuesday, October 19th, 2021. Thank you.